Hi everybody, my name is Rainer. You are on Rainier Books. May the 10th is a Tuesday, and today I want to give you some reading recommendations of books that I haven't read myself, but books that are new or that came to my attention, that were brought to my attention by something else. I will explain that a little later on, because I have 7 books for you that are fairly new and 3 books that won awards. Let's get started. First one is from Australia, and we seldom and rarely get new books from Australia, and we seldom discuss books from Australia in the rest of the world, and that is very sad in a way, because of course there's great literature on this continent. The book that I'm interested in is called Other Houses by Paddy O'Reilly, published by Affirm Press on March 29 in 2022. This is a book about 2 people who live on the existential line, as we say in Germany, the line between poverty and being able to exist. Lily works as a cleaner. She moves through houses in inner city Melbourne, unseen, scrubbing away the daily residue of other people's privilege. Her partner Janks works the line in a local food factory. With every paycheck, they inch further away from the former world of poverty and addiction. Lily and Janks are determined that their daughter Julie will have a different life. She'll have a career, not a dead-end job. She'll have savings, not debt. But precarious lives are easily upended. One wrong move throws the family into a situation in which the lines between right and wrong, hope and disappointment are blurred. Other Houses is a masterful and tender story about people who live from payday to payday. Acutely observed and lyrical, Paddy O'Reilly's novel paints a haunting picture of class, aspiration, and the boundaries we will cross for love. Number 2, We Move by Gurnaik Johal, published by Serpent's Tail on April the 7th, actually, in 2022. This takes us to London, to the area where the Heathrow Airport is situated. Beneath the planes circling Heathrow, various lives connect. Priti speaks English and her Nani Punjabi. Without Priti's mom around, they struggle to make a shared language. Not far away, Chetan and Anshi's relationship shifts when a woman leaves her car in that drive but never returns to collect it. Yujan's Baba steps out of his flat above the chicken shop for the first time in years to take his grandson on a bicycle tour of the old and changed neighborhood. And returning home after dropping out of university, Lata grapples with a secret about her estranged family friend, now a chart-topping rapper in a crisis of confidence. Mapping an area of West London, these stories chart a wider narrative about the movement of multiple generations of immigrants. In acts of startling imagination, Gurnaik Johal's debut brings together the past and the present, the local and the global, to show the surprising ways we come together. Very interesting, because this area around Heathrow, around Wembley, is a very it's much dominated by a lot of people from India and that part of Asia, and to see how they live and to see how their literature is developing in the new country is very, very interesting. Now we come to, I have a couple of thrillers in this selection. The first thriller I want to present is book number 3 on this list, and the first thriller, it's by an author that I admire very much. I read his trilogy about drugs, about the cartel wars, about the narco wars in Mexico, the borderline, the border, the Power of the Dog, and the Cartel. Don Winslow is back, published on April 26, 2022 by HarperCollins in the US. He is back with a new trilogy, with the first part of a new trilogy, and this book is called City on Fire. 29-year-old Danny Ryan is a hard-working longshoreman, loving husband, loyal friend, and occasional muscle for the Irish crime syndicate that oversees much of the city. He yearns for something more and dreams of starting over fresh someplace far away. But when a modern-day Helen of Troy triggers a war between rival mob factions, Denny is embroiled in a conflict he can't escape. Now it is up to him to step into the breach to protect his family, the friends who are closer to him than brothers, and the only home he's ever known. Don Winslow is a great crime writer, and you might have recognized him, you might have seen him a lot on Twitter in the year of 2020 when he spent a lot of millions of dollars in the campaign to sort of get rid of President Trump. The second thriller is a Japanese thriller. I haven't read the first one by this author, which is called The Bullet Train, but this one is the second one that is translated into English. This is Kotaru Isaka again, published by Harvel Secker on April the 14th of 2022, and his second novel in English is called Three Assassins. Suzuki is just an ordinary man until his wife is murdered. When he discovers the criminal gang responsible, he leaves behind his life as a maths teacher and joins them looking for a chance to take his revenge. What he doesn't realize is that he's about to get drawn into a web of unusual professional assassins, each with their own agenda. The whale convinces his victims to take their own lives using just his words. The cicada is a talkative and deadly knife expert. The elusive pusher dispatches his targets in deadly traffic accidents. Suzuki must take each of them on in order to try to find justice and keep his innocence in a world of killers. The next book won actually a prize. It won it's the first Edgar awarded novel in this selection of 10 books that I present you this year. In the end of April, Erin Flanagan won the Best Paperback Book, thriller book for the American Edgars. And this is Deer Season, published by the University of Nebraska Press on September 1 in 2021. It's the opening weekend of deer season in Guntram, Nebraska in 1985, and Alma Costagan's intellectually disabled farmhand, Hal Bullard, has gone hunting with some of the locals, leaving her in a huff. That same weekend, a teenage girl goes missing, and Hal returns with a flimsy story about the blood in his truck and a dent near the headlight. When the situation escalates from that of a missing girl to something more sinister, Alma and her husband are forced to confront what Hal might be capable of, as rumors fly and townspeople see Hal's violent past in a new light. A drama about the complicated relationships connecting the residents of a small-town farming community, Deer Season explores troubling questions about how far people will go to safeguard the ones they love and what it means to be a family. The next book comes from Scotland, actually. It's also a thriller, also a crime book. This is called Bobby March Will Live Forever by Alan Parks, published by Canongate on March 5 in 2020, but it also won an Edgar this year. It's July 1973. The Glasgow drugs trade is booming, and Bobby March, the city's own rock star hero, has just overdosed in a central hotel. Alice Kelly is 13 years old, lonely and missing. Meanwhile, the niece of McCoy's boss has fallen in with a bad crowd, and when she goes AWOL, McCoy is asked off the books to find her. McCoy has a hunch, but does he have enough time? This is the third novel in the Harry McCoy series. The winner of the True Crime Prize in the Edgars this year is a book called Last Call, a true story of love, lust, and murder in queer New York by Elon Green, published by Celadon Books on March 9 in 2021. The Townhouse Bar, Midtown, July 1992. The piano player seems to know every song ever written. The crowd bells out the lyrics to their favorites, and a man standing nearby is drinking a scotch and water. The man strikes the piano player as forgettable. He looks bland and inconspicuous. Not at all what you think a serial killer looks like. But that's what he is. And tonight he has his sights set on a gray-haired man. He will not be his first victim, nor will he be his last. The Last Call killer preyed upon gay men in New York in the 80s and 90s and had all the hallmarks of the most notorious serial killers. Yet because of the sexuality of his victims, the sky-high murder rates, and the AIDS epidemic, his murders have been almost entirely forgotten. This gripping true crime narrative tells the story of the Last Call killer and a decades-long chase to find him. And at the same time, it paints a portrait of his victims and a vibrant community navigating threat and resilience. Non-fiction. A non-fiction? Okay, I give you a non-fiction book. This would have been a good one for the post-Soviet book club, which is on hold right now. It might is something for the post-Soviet book club. This is a book called Stalin's Architect, Power and Survival in Moscow by Dejan Sudjic, published by Thames and Hudson on April 28 in 2022, just a couple of days ago. This is a history of architecture, politics, and power. Boris Iofan, 1891 to 1976, made his mark as Stalin's architect, both in the grand projects he achieved, such as the house on the embankment, a megastructure of 505 homes for the Soviet elite, and through his unbuilt designs, in particular the Palace of the Soviets, a Baroque Stalinist dream whose iconic image was reproduced throughout the Soviet Union. Iofan's life and designs offer a unique perspective into the politics of 20th century architecture and the history of the Soviet Union. Very interesting for me. I'm a non-architect, and hopefully also for you. Another literary fiction book that I found very interesting was published in April, on April 14 by Unbound, is a book called Poguemahone by Patrick McCabe. Dan Fogarty, an Irishman living in England, is looking after his sister Una, now 70 and suffering from dementia, in a care home in Margate. From Dan's anarchic account, we gradually piece together the story of the Fogarty family. How the parents are exiled from a small Irish village and end up living the hard immigrant life in England. How Dots, the mother, becomes a call girl in 1950s Soho. How a young and overweight Una finds herself living in a hippie squat in Kilburn in the early 1970s. How the squat appears to be haunted by vindictive ghosts who eat away at the sanity of all who live there. And finally, how all that survives now of those sex and drug-soaked times are Una's unspooling memories as she sits outside in the Margate sunshine, and Dan himself, whose role in the story becomes stranger and more sinister. Poguemahone is a wild, free verse monologue, steeped in music and folklore, crammed with characters both real and imagined on a scale Patrick McCabe has never attempted before. Super duper interesting, right? And another literary fiction for you. This is An Olive Grove in Inns by Moses McKenzie, published by Wildfire on April 28 in 2022. Rayon Hughes, a young black man from Bristol, dreams of a world far removed from the one in which he was raised. Far removed from the torn slips outside the bookies, the burnt spoons and the crooked solutions his community embraces, most of all removed from the Christianity of his uncaring parents and the prejudice of lawmakers. Growing up, Sion found respite from the chaos of his environment in the love and loyalty of his brothers in arms, Cuba, and the example of his cousin Hakim, a man once known as the most infamous drug dealer in the neighborhood, now a proselytizing Muslim, and in the tenderness of his girl Shona, whose own sense of purpose galvanizes Sion. In return, Sion wants to give the people he loves the world, a house atop a grand hill in the most affluent area in the city, a home in which they can forever find joy and safety. But after an altercation in which a boy is killed, Sion finds his loyalties torn and his dream of a better life in peril. The last book I mentioned in this video is the winner of the 2022 Edgar Award for Best Crime Novel, for Best Thriller of the Year. And the award at the Marriott Hotel in New York, one of the Marriott hotels, they have probably more than one, went to, or goes to, James Kestrel for 5 Decembers, or James Kestrel or Kestrel, I don't know, probably Kestrel. December 1941, America teeters on the brink of war, and in Honolulu, Hawaii, police detective Joe McGrady is assigned to investigate a homicide that will change his life forever. Because the trail of murder he uncovers will lead him across the Pacific, far from home and the woman he loves, and though the US doesn't know it yet, a Japanese fleet is already steaming toward Pearl Harbor. This extraordinary novel is so much more than just a gripping crime story. It's a story of survival against all odds, of love and loss and the human cost of war. Spanning the entirety of World War II, 5 Decembers is a beautiful, masterful, powerful novel that will live in your memory forever, says the publisher. Publisher being Hard Case Crime, October 26 in 2021, the winner of the Edgar in 2022. You got 3 Edgar winners from me this year, and I have to correct myself. The book by Erin Flanagan, Deer Season, is not the winner of the Paperback Award. It's the winner of the first American Crime Novel Award. And the Paperback Award went to the Scottish book by Alan Parks about Glasgow. So that's a little correction at the end of this video. I will definitely acquire 2 or 3 of these books. I don't know which ones yet. Actually, sometimes this is arbitrary, but definitely I will get me one of these books. I hope that you will get interested in 1 or 2 of these books that maybe you have read already, something like 5 Decembers. Then please drop me a note in the comments down below. I thank you very, very much for watching this video. I will have another video up on Thursday. I don't actually know, maybe it's a tag video. And then I will have a bunch of other videos coming up next, but this is going to be a little surprise for you. And maybe I will go live somehow next week. I don't know, at the weekend. We'll see. Stay safe, have a great day, have a great week, and see you soon. Bye-bye.